I'm Robin Crane, and this is the Growing Your Financial Business the Woman's Way podcast. Listen, I was a financial advisor for over a decade, and I got so sick of the old archaic strategies that your grandpa used to get clients. What the industry teaches today is still so outdated and just doesn't work anymore. So I had to find a better way for myself, and then I got obsessed with sharing these how-tos with other women like me. The stuff I teach doesn't require giving up your life, your sanity, or your family time. I want women like you to have it easier than I had it, so you can thrive in the industry. I've now helped thousands of women grow their financial businesses to multiple six figures, some even seven figures per year. So on this podcast, you're going to get an inside look at how they did it so you can do it too. Let's dive into the show. Welcome to another FEM special series here. I'm here with Rochelle Desser, and I want to just touch upon really more about how important it is to have a connection with your clients. Because Rochelle and I spoke before we started recording. She was in FEM, it was probably a couple of years ago, and has been in the industry for how long?
40 years this year.
40 years. Boom. So she is definitely seasoned in this profession. And what I want to really focus on is kind of how things shifted for you, especially being in the industry for 40 years. My guess is you've been doing things or told to do things a certain way. And then I think, opened your eyes to a new way of doing things. So tell us a little about you and your experience and what shifted since you joined FEM and how that changed your business.
Sure. Well, 40 years ago, things were a lot different. I was totally clueless what this business was about. I joined a company, what was then called IDS Financial Services, which has morphed into Ameriprise. I was there doing things the old school way, just call your friends, call your neighbors, knock on doors, yada, yada, yada. Didn't really work for me, left there. And
let me just chime in there. Like, that was 40 years ago. You'd think people wouldn't do that anymore, but they're still teaching that. Let's just say that's not, it's still old school, but this is why I say like the archaic model doesn't work, and you're not aligned with it. Like, it could work if you just want to, obviously, knocking on doors works if you do it enough. There is a whole group of people, religious and otherwise, that knock on doors, solar panels, whatnot. Like, it works. It drives everybody crazy, but it works, but it's not what you want to be doing. Right. So, and that's a lot of companies are still telling people to do that, which I think is so crazy, but yeah, keep going.
Amazing. And it is challenging to get into this business. And there's a lot of turnover because of that, because I don't think the business is forthright with someone coming in, and they don't have a mechanism. They don't have a path to allow you to learn and build up. Mm-hmm. That is a big.
It's kind of like just survival of the fittest. And for me, in 2000, and I got licensed in 2006. Really had my first year 2007. It was totally like that. Survival of the fittest. Like, you get in, and for us, we weren't doing door knocking, but we were doing sales calls and definitely friends and family type of stuff. And there were people. I mean, it was like serious revolving door. We'd have people come in and leave like within 2-3 weeks, sometimes 6-8 weeks, sometimes 2 months. But it was very, very volatile. Like, people were coming in and out the whole time. And it was kind of like, well, if you can survive this, especially if you survive a decade, you'll probably stay in the business, especially because it's a recurring revenue model. It doesn't mean that people are building their ideal businesses though, because it's just like, okay, just keep grinding, keep hustling, all that stuff. So good. Keep going. This is great.
Right. And back in the day, it wasn't a reoccurring.
Right. It's transactional, right?
It was transactional. So it was just starting. And I always thought, even back then, I thought, there's got to be a different way to do this. That people need advice. People need help. People have questions. But there was no one to get answers from.
Right.
But they felt trusted, that they felt they could trust and would be real with them. And I always thought there should be a business model of advice, revenue, continuing revenue, so that as an advisor, I have a vested interest in really helping the people that I'm working with.
Right.
So over the years, I found the firm that I've been with since 2003. Because I was fortunate because I wasn't the sole support of my family. So that allowed me to build things up. And I found a man who was doing business through seminars, mostly in New York State courts. And when I met with him, he said, they're not wealthy people, but I have a lot of leads. And if you're willing to call these people because they've attended a seminar, they've expressed some interest, I think you could I built up a business. I think you could build up a business. You have the right personality, the right touch, that kind of thing. And I've been here for 16, almost 17 years.
Okay. So that was, well, you said 2003. That's 20 years.
Oh, I mean, not 2000.
2006.
Sorry,
okay.
2006, right.
Not to correct you on your math or anything, but in the public eye, but I can do 20 years math. That's about all I can do. Subtract 3, 4, that's about as good as my math gets.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So what really, so then it sounds like you started with them 16, 17 years ago, and there was a good model there, and a seminar model, I think, is a pretty good model, but like you said, they weren't like super wealthy or whatever. So you still had to keep getting a lot of clients.
Yes.
So really, we started a couple years ago. What changed for you that really, because after being in the industry, even just 2 years ago, that's 38 years in the industry, you wanted to shift things. You wanted something different. What compelled you first? Like, what were the challenges that you were having that you wanted solved, like the problems you wanted solved? And then what changed for you that has actually improved your business model?
Sure. Well, it was pre-pandemic when I think I first signed on to be a FEM. Little did I know how that would really
You didn't predict that one? Oh, man. Me neither.
But I knew then, too, as much as I enjoyed working with the people we were working with, the courts, I didn't have control over really the type of person that I was working with. So I learned over the years that obviously, as a human being, you have a stronger connection with some other human beings than not everybody. And
those of you listening, just like my father, you can tell she's from New York because she says human, which we always make fun of my dad for. And he's like, stop making fun of me because I say human being. But I just had to touch on that. But keep going. Sorry for the distraction.
Listen,
but
I own it.
Remind me of my father. So that's good.
That's okay. I own it. I own it.
I know you do. That's the best.
We know each other well enough. So I knew that I needed to figure out a little bit. We were doing seminars in the courts, but it was nothing that was really under my control. And whatever your messaging was and whatever I saw from you, that was the thing that attracted me, that I said, oh, that's an answer I want to find out about. How do I really control that? And that's
what do you control? What specifically? Like control who you bring in or how much you bring in as far as clients, revenue? Like what was it specifically? Even if you don't know the exact words,
right.
What that attracted you?
Who I speak to, how many of those people,
right?
Whether or not, then I could make a determination as qualifying in terms of money or not. I was still open to the fact of working with, regardless of income levels, because I have a passion and a mission about education and certain discriminatory things that I see in the industry. But that's my personal business, and that's great.
Yeah, and you get to. So what you were looking for was more control around that. Correct. So it's kind of like, and this is what I find with a lot of advisors, you were defaulting to, okay, well, whatever marketing that's worked in the past, we kind of do. Defaulting to how do you even drive those people to an appointment? Like the people who come to some want an appointment, some don't, because I know these seminars are typically education based, which seems like a nice thing. But I always say, as you know, your job is not to educate them. Your job is to motivate them, because everyone can get the education on the World Wide Web now. And now we have ChatGPT. You could basically say, ChatGPT, I want you to pretend that you are a financial advisor. In fact, you are a certified financial planner who is extremely knowledgeable about the markets and knows exactly what to do, when to do it, and give me the financial. Like you could actually ask ChatGPT now to be your advisor. My husband has done it with for health and
really?
like for fasting. Like he's done it for fasting something for, for basically losing weight, like be my personal trainer essentially.
Right.
And so, with ChatGPT now, like we can say, take this persona on and then help me, and then take the World Wide Web, all this information, and make it easy for people to understand. So, which is a whole other topic, but I think that's really interesting to think about, is that like we're coming into a world of AI where we can say possibly people don't need you. But just like Google, when Google came, it didn't mean that it obliterated a financial advisor's job. Like now you can search for things and get all the information. But this is why I say, like, they don't need information. They need motivation. They need to actually know what to do and be driven to do it. So it sounds like you wanted more control around who you talk to, obviously, even within the realm of these courts and, was it state employees?
State employees.
Yeah, state employees.
Judges, so it runs the gamut.
Okay, cool. But even in that realm, like, let's say the income's the same, assets under management the same, you still want someone who's coachable, who's going to listen, who you feel like is the right fit for you. Like you said at the beginning, like connection that you connect with, you care about, that you want also them to care about their financial future as much as you do. And so I think that's where those things come in, is like you do have control over that, because that's messaging. And you said it, that's how I got you, right? Is that my messaging, whatever that was, and you can't even remember, it attracted you to want to have a conversation and maybe move to the next step, because the messaging is what drives beliefs. Like, oh, she can help me. Oh, this is worth my time. Oh, I might be able to get rid of this problem or get this result. And it drives those beliefs, which drive the behaviors. Okay, it's worth my time to meet. That's a belief. So I go and meet with her or whatever that is. So, and I would say typically what I'm using in my messaging, and back then I don't think it's that different, is like how to attract the right clients and also, convert them way faster. Because I can't tell you how many people, and you know this, but in FEM used to say like, oh man, I used to spend like 3 hours with someone, and at the end, I didn't really want to work with them anyway. And I'm glad they said no, but thank goodness I have these systems now where I don't have to do that, so that you have a system where you can cut your time. Like I wouldn't even say in half, like it could be like 10% of the time where you're spending time with the people, you're getting them to self-select to go to the next step, so that it's less time. And then, you get the right people. So what specifically changed for you? Like, so you said we wanted more control over that. Like, how have you seen that show up now? Paint the picture for us of like how that's been different for you.
Sure. Well, it is all about messaging and what I say and the questions I ask of someone. And it sounds simple. However, we know it's not simple. It's a constant of readjusting what you're saying. What I'm finding now is, as you were saying, people can answer any question they want on the web, get information galore. And now there's information overload, and they don't make any decisions or take any action because they're on information and frozen.
Right.
So what I found in my messaging is how to cut through the path for you. You need someone to hold your hands. You need, so if I'm getting to that person, so for instance, from the courts, it's been female judges who know everything about the law, can make decisions like that about a case in front of them, and cannot make a decision on their own personal financial circumstances.
That's awesome. And I think and that's great that you have like a kind of clear, I don't like to say niche, but let's just say target market, or we like to call it the clone, the ideal clone, but you know who that person is and you understand their problems and you know how to, what verbiage to use to like get them to see that. But I would say that resonates with a lot of us, and that's a great way to describe it, is that like we have the information, but that doesn't mean we have clarity. And I always say clarity is power. And, remember we talked about that initial strategy session and getting someone from a discovery call to strategy session and promising like, here's the clarity that you'll have so that you can make those decisions, know what to do moving forward. Because most people don't have that clarity. It's like, okay, there's a ton of information. Like I was talking recently about Alex Hormozi. And he's this big marketer that every entrepreneur and marketer on the planet seems to know. And I say everyone, exclusive of most financial advisors, because they're not usually watching like any of the stuff going on in the marketing world and like digital marketing. Right. But what I sent this email about it, because I was saying like,
we digital marketers and information marketers and like entrepreneur that kind of classify ourselves in this realm all know what's going on with this big launch that Alex Hormozi did and what he's talking about. But for you, like, and I don't mean just you, Rochelle, but like all these financial advisors to cut through that noise when someone's telling you, and some of it's like Facebook ads and you're like, that's not relevant to me, and some of it is, about your offer and you're thinking like, well, my offer, how do you make a better offer? It's just like managing money. Well, that's not what they want. It's the result that they want. So it's like what I usually do is like figure out, well, I learn from all this information of what's relevant because I've been in the industry for a decade and be like, now this is what the piece, like, so that's my value as well. It's like taking all this information, learning from it and saying like, okay, here's how you use it for marketing. And I think one of the biggest things, I love that you use the word control. I think one of the biggest things for a lot of the financial advisors who come to me is that they are just defaulting to like, well, here's who I'm working with. I have all these clients. And oftentimes, like we all know that financial advisors have their A, B, and C clients, maybe even D clients. Right. And you get to a certain point in your business where there ain't no way in hell that you're going to be able to take care of all of those clients. And so then everybody's like, okay, I need an associate or like a junior advisor to take over those C and D clients and then pass them along. And like, that's just kind of how it is. And maybe this was your guy who passed them to you at first. And then you're like, I got to now pass them along. But like, we don't have capacity to just keep on taking so many clients. And then you're not getting paid what you're worth because you're like, I got 300 clients and how am I supposed to service all these, especially if they're not high net worth and you want to help everybody, but you ain't helping everybody. I keep saying ain't because it's like, it's more impactful, but you're not helping anyone if you don't have time to service them all. And so that word control, I think, is really, really powerful because it's not about always just getting the highest net worth clients. It's about being really selective with who you bring on and who you let go of. And one of the things I talked about recently in one of the podcasts that I was recording was about like how this is actually, I don't think it's gone live yet, but with Michael Kitces, we were talking about the capacity thing. And I said, so many advisors are over promising from the get-go when they don't need to. It's like they come in and, you can help them and get their accounts sorted and get their plan worked out and get them started to save better and also get their investments in a better position. And all those things are, even though it might not affect them, you might not see it for 20 years, you doing that even in 2 weeks or 3 months, it's an immediate result that they get. And so that's something people want. Like they think they want, we as financial advisors think, I got to promise them this early retirement and all that stuff. And yes, they want that. But like what's affecting them today is that they're feeling like they're behind. They're feeling like they don't know how to make financial decisions. They're feeling like they don't have control of their money. They feel like they don't know what to do. And then if you can get them in the right position, maybe you won't work with them forever, but like you start working with them, you get them in the right position, and then it's not that bad to hand them off. But when we promise them, I'll be there for your retirement party, it's like, well, then we have to disappoint them. And that was hard for me when I left the industry because I felt like that's what I was taught. And so when I decided to sell my business, I'm like, it was a year agonizing about whether or not I should do this because I felt like I made promises to people and I thought I was going to be there for the retirement in 30 years. And it turned out like that was not on the path for me. And then I had to like deal with the, loss and like to tell, like I was so afraid to tell them like I wasn't going to be in the industry. I feel like it was this whole letdown. And in the end, I shouldn't have been the one managing their money. Like I was actually not the best at it. And I realized I was better at actually helping people grow their businesses versus their money. So anyway, all that to say that I think we all want that control, like whether it's in your business or in your finances, and to understand where to focus so that you can have that control is really important. So what were the main things that you focused on that have given you more control? I know you said to me before we started recording, you've increased your business 20%. And when you got recurring revenue, like that's very significant, especially to have like a, kind of a business where it's more like a merry-go-round. And now you can just give it a little push. You don't have to work full time anymore. But yeah, what have been the things that you focused on to get you to that point?
Well, knowing the kinds of people that I was going to help the best. And to your point about making those promises forever,
yeah,
I say that now.
You
I'm
say
of
that
an age where I'm not going to be, if someone's 50 or 40, I may not be there when they retire.
Yeah.
But I have focused on, I'm helping you get organized. I want to hold your hand, lead you down the path. I believe if it's not me, there's going to be somebody else. And that's another piece of what I learned from you that I'm working on to bring other female women in the business.
Mm-hmm.
We have a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I believe that it was certainly helpful to see the larger numbers of people who were sitting in the same place as I was, because it can be very isolating. Whether you're part of a broker dealer, and maybe at that point I was with the firm was with Royal Alliance, and we had an annual female only advisor conference, which was great. And it was great to meet other people across the country who were sitting in the same seat, so to speak, and to feed off of that. For whatever reason, maybe because we didn't have the structure, it wasn't enough to satisfy what I was looking for. So
yeah. Tandy and I actually talked about that on the other podcast, is like the female or women's conferences for advisors is a great idea, but it doesn't create this safe space like we do in FEM, where it's just very vulnerable and authentic and open, where you can understand also where to put attention and what to shift in your business. It's very specific, like we talk about, that allows you to have that growth, but also make those friendships. And I know you and Tandy still talk every week, which is so cool. So those friendships are just like forever. And so you're not feeling isolated, and you feel like you have those relationships, not just with your clients, but on the side of like what other advisors are going through and experiencing. So that's great.
And we all have different business models in terms of that. Some people are accountants like Tandy is. She does tax work as well as doing financial advisory work. I just function on that. But it really, I'd have to say, just opening up my mind to looking at who I was already dealing with, who were the people I connected best with. Those are the people that I need to figure out, and I don't need to invent it. I just got to ask the right questions of those people to get their wording. I mean, that was so eye-opening to me. I had never thought about it in that way. Like, we're not marketers. We're quote unquote supposed to be, but I'm not a marketer. What I'm great at is making a connection and a good, a safe space for the people that I work with. Someone said something to me, and she said, I don't want to insult you, but she said, talking to you can be like talking to your grandma. And I said, I own that. I said, I had a goal in mind. I'm sure Dr. Ruth, the sex therapist.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
To me, that's the model.
So you want to be a sex therapist?
No, I don't want to be a sex therapist. I want to be a money therapist.
I think I wrote Dr. Ruth an email once. I didn't hear back, but I think I was like, you're amazing. Can I have you on my podcast? And I should really pursue that, because I think everybody is accessible. She's still alive, right?
Yes, she is.
Okay. Do you have a connection?
I don't have a connection other than the role model of, if you can make it comfortable for young women to talk to an older woman about sex, to me, that's like the biggest area. Then I can make it comfortable for women or men of any age to talk about money. That's
great. So good. Yeah. So anyone who's listening to this, if you do have a connection, Dr. Ruth, hook it up, because that would be awesome to have her on the podcast. But I think that's a really interesting, analogy or connection, but like to think about that, because we all know sex is taboo and money is taboo and politics is taboo. And it's like, you're not supposed to talk about that. And then, being in the role CFP, financial advisor, like we sometimes forget, because you talk about it every single day. And then like you said, and a backtrack a little bit, you said, I didn't have to figure out what to say. Essentially what you're talking about is messaging. Like I didn't have to figure out, what do I say to attract these people? You didn't say all that, but I know what you meant. So I want to make sure the audience knows, but I didn't have to figure out, I'm not a marketer. I didn't have to figure out like all the things to say that's going to attract them to want to talk to me. What I had to do is just understand and learn. And that's one of the things that we did in FEM, how to ask the right questions. And they just tell me. And I always say this is like, and then we just regurgitate, which is a horrible word to think about when you think about what that sounds like, but and looks like, but we just like regurgitate what they say. And as long as we know who we're talking to and we get specific on those things, it starts to attract people just like them. And it does create that safe space. And, I love that you can just own that. And like, I'd be happy like to be grandma, even with my daughter who was just in here a few minutes ago, as you saw before we started recording, it's just, she was volatile, being so, she seems just really tired. And I have her like lying on kind of my small, beautiful little breast. But like that feeling, and I was doing this thing, I was rubbing her back and I said, baby. And that's what my grandma used to do to me. And that's comforting. And, and I'm like kind of rocking her and she's just like, she's 3, like she's not being a jerk. She just wants mommy, and it's like if I just let her, while I was talking on a call with somebody else, but my COO was there. So he was kind of talking to her, I muted, and I just kind of hummed to my daughter and gave her that safety. And that is a grandma feeling. And that is a great compliment, like for people without having to rock your clients and put them on your breast, because that would be weird. But to like, give them that feeling of safety and love and unconditional love, because I think also a lot of clients come in embarrassed, especially you would imagine a judge. Like I know things, I'm the one that says you're going in jail or you're not, or I'm the one that determines people's futures in some regards. And there's like a lot of control there. And then to feel like I can't even control my own future, like what a dichotomy there. Like what an interesting concept to be like, no, I know you're giving it to everyone and you have this incredible gift of understanding how to advise people. And you have this incredible like brilliance of understanding what to do and what's the right thing to do. And especially even, as moral, morals and values. And then to feel this like incongruence about what you should do with your money, like that's an emotional thing. And to be able to figuratively rock them and make them feel like they're taken care of, grandma or not, like I think that's beautiful. And that's something that women will do and men won't. And again, why women are typically, better at the nurturing side of the business, and that most people don't just want to, like find out about the investments and what the investments are doing. They want to feel like you're on their side and helping them reach their goals and control their money and their financial future.
That's right. So that they can be comfortable. My ideal is that when someone says to me, I don't worry about my money now, just go live it. Just go live your life, because I know if I have a question about something, you're the one to call. I'm going to call you. You talked me out of doing something that was going to be more than I really could handle. Thank you for that. And the biggest compliment to me is you're part of my family. And now I say that to my clients. When I had a new client sign in on Saturday, and she wrote me a very nice email. Thank you for helping us, for answering your questions. I know we may not have the most wealth. You may deal with people with more wealth, but you made us feel very important to you. And our questions were important. And we felt comfortable and safe in moving ahead with what I recommended.
Beautiful.
And that's the name of the game. And I've just had, since working with you and going, through that process, have more confidence that is the right path for me to be on.
And here's what I love is that when you're intentional with your business and you have the right systems in place, the money comes. I can't just say that the money comes if you just, it does, because like if you just do hard, if you're working hard for 40 years in the industry, you're going to be doing all right, no matter what. But I think when it comes to building your ideal business and ideal life, which is what we like to talk about in FEM, it's being intentional with that and then using the systems to lean on, because you just weren't taught that. You were taught from 40 years ago to go door to door and call friends and family, and they're still taught that. And it's like, well, if we could just be selective with who we work with, and some people do want that $2 million or $5 million account. And some people are like, no, I don't need that. And you'll probably get a ton of referrals from this woman. And also when you manage the expectations and create boundaries and what is expected of her and what's expected of you, then you could have more clients because you've created those expectations. So I think it's also how you're setting things up. Yes. Knowing what your goal is for your business and being real with them instead of over promising, I'll be there. Oh, any weekend. You said you were with her on a weekend, but like, any day you need me. Like I set those boundaries because I think a lot of financial advisors don't still have clients telling me they're working on the weekends. I'm like, okay, this is really important that this is what we're going to work on this time. One of the ladies who just rejoined FEM, she's like, yeah, I got to stop working on weekends. I'm like, you're still working on weekends? Like no more, and maybe you choose that and that's okay. But
Fridays off, and during the summer, I'll take a Saturday morning.
All right. So you're intentional with it. But regardless of what it is, everyone has their own rules. But I just want them to be your rules with your intention to build your ideal business so you can have your ideal life, which is a constant kind of never ending improvement. It's like we're not necessarily there, but knowing that that's where we want, that's the journey to get to that destination, but enjoying the journey as well.
It is a journey. It's going to evolve. I was on a call with clients earlier, right before our call, and we would talk. They're worried about, things are changing. They retired, they moved, things are changing, and you could hear the anxiety in their voice. And we were on, and he said, things are going to change. Things changed over the last 2 years. They're going to change in the next 2 years. They'll settle down. You'll be fine. You're going to be fine. He's asking me, should we change this? I said, no, Jeff, we set it up. You're fine.
This is like the, figurative rockabye, baby.
Exactly.
Rockabye, Jeffy.
I've learned also, I modulate my tone.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be softer speaking because that's what they need. When we had the downturn in the market last year, I had to be the calm voice on the phone because they're hysterical. And it's having the confidence, and I gained confidence from working and figuring all of that out to be able to do that without saying, oh, I shouldn't be doing that because that's not the right role, Being me, authentic and caring. The nicest compliment you could give me is that you're kind. That's important to me. And I can allow that to come through and work with the people I'm working with on it. I'm thrilled.
That's beautiful. And everyone wants an advisor like that. Like, we care more about that than what's happening in the market. And that's what I love about the Woman's Way. And again, I'm talking about how we're shifting things. We're going to work with men, but I think men need this and men want this. And the wealthiest people, I had this guy, Brett, come on my podcast, and he was talking about ultra high net worth. And he's talking, when advisors are at that level working with ultra high net worth, it's so much less about performance and the money. Like, it's so much more about lifestyle and feeling like this is a family and feeling like you understand what I want and feeling like you care and all that stuff. And it's not just women who are caring and nurturing. It's just, we tend to be better at it. But this is why I do want to involve men in this too, because like we need the industry to change as a whole.
Yes.
And it can't just change if we women just, women rule the world and all that. But like, when women rule the world, like Barbie, then maybe we could get there, but we still need to involve, even Barbie at the end involved Ken,
That's
if you guys,
right.
Sorry if I ruined the punchline, or spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Barbie, I finally saw it, but yeah, it's really good. Well, this has been amazing. Any last comments or advice to give the listeners here?
I think if you're in this business, I think you really have to just be who you are and let that show through and not hide it behind the corporate. Thank God the dress code has changed since COVID. And I think the personality codes are adjusting as well in terms of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah, be you. Yeah, authenticity for sure.
Authenticity. And hopefully the industry will shift too. It took a few years before.
We got to keep working on it. We got to massage it. But that's why it's important for you to grow and then create that space and your personal development is completely tied to your business development. If you're not working on you and being the true you that you are meant to be, then you're missing, like your business is just not going to grow. It's going to get stagnant. So amazing. And for those of you listening, if you're at all curious about FEM, you still can get in. If you're listening to this, we still have a few spots available. It's closing soon because our event's coming up in late October. But we're taking a few of the ladies outside to be with this incredible group of women and to be able to experience this for our last FEM. So if you're at all curious, just send an email to support@robincrane.com and put FEM, FEMM in the subject line, and we'll get on a call and see if it's right for you. And with that, we will say goodbye. But Rochelle, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all next time on Growing Your Financial Business the Women's Way.